Greetings for week one of responsible conduct of research. In this overview, I'm just going to tell you about the first week and what we're trying to accomplish in this particular module. What we'd like to do is to give you a broad overview of the field of addiction science, where it came from, how it evolved, and where it's going. What you're going to be doing is reading the second chapter in a book called Publishing Addiction Science, which talks about the history of the field in terms of the different parts of the infrastructure that involves people with knowledge of scientific research on addiction. And that infrastructure consists of research centers, research publications that are published in journals. It consists of professional societies and specialized library collections and a variety of other organizations and agencies that fund research, commission reports, and do things that create a demand for addiction science. The history of the field goes back at least to the 19th century, when there was a preoccupation in the United States and many other countries with the problems created by alcohol and, to a lesser extent, opioids and cocaine. And out of that need came a demand for scientific information. First, surveys looking at epidemiological data and indicators of mortality. Then studies of clinical populations, people committed to what was then called insane asylums, specialized hospitals to treat people with addictive disorders. And a literature started to develop and journals started to emerge in the late 19th century. With prohibition in the 1920s, not only in the United States, but also about 15 other countries, and the global depression and the wars, First World War, Second World War, the problems connected with addiction were put in the background and they diminished dramatically for a variety of reasons. It wasn't until the booming years starting in the 1950s in the world economy that addiction came back to become a major public health problem and a preoccupation of particularly government agencies and private interests that were looking for knowledge about addiction. And so in the 1970s, we get the emergence of the beginnings of an infrastructure to support addiction science. And as you'll see in the readings and the lecture for this week, the growth has been phenomenal, and it hasn't begun to level off. All of that is a good indication of what we'll be talking about at the end of this course, which is careers in addiction studies and addiction science. So with that, let's move on to the readings and the lecture for this week.